In a project like this, Damon, it's really super important to describe your intent. And I'm saying this to a lot of students because a lot of students are just submitting their work without any written description describing your intent or your methodological setup and conceptual development. So in order to receive the most accurate feedback, it would be incumbent on the designer to submit their intent, typically in a written document. Emily does a really good job down here. So something like this is really important. So I mean, because a lot of questions should be answered um, before they arise with your writing. Okay, so for example, like why did you choose this typeface? Why did you choose these colors, etc., etc. Right. So think about that. Not only for this class, for all of your classes. Super important to describe your methodology while um, submitting work for approval and or critique. Okay, enough of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the work. I get it, man. It's a really good, solid concept. A couple of issues, though, is number one is this is an illustration, right? So if you take a look at the requirements and the typography, there should be some sort of typographic composition. There's no imagery allowed on the front cover. Okay, so unless it's incorporated with the typography. Do you see what I'm saying? So here, the logical thing to do here would be to take the barbed wire and somehow incorporate it into your letter forms. All right, let me give you an example over here. This is the example, and this is a great announcement over here. I'm wondering, it looks like you hadn't, yeah, you haven't looked at this. This is going to help you tremendously. I mean, this is really going to open up some doors and turn on some lights for you. This video right here, all of these examples right here are considered to be a very, very high A work. And I've deconstructed and described each one of them in great detail in this video right here. I highly recommend you hunker down with this video, spend some time with it, and then recompose. The problem is that you're creating meaning illustratively and not typographically. It would be very easy just to take this and incorporate it somehow into the type. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't want to give you any examples. I want you to come up with this yourself. So the other thing is, I'm not crazy about this. This is a really super elegant typeface, and we're talking about a Holocaust survivor. So I don't see a connection between this kind of really super refined, elegant typeface and the subject matter being the Holocaust survivor. I would recommend you don't use such an organic, elegant kind of a formal typeface, almost scripted. And then try to stay away from center alignment, right? So what I would do is so we incorporate the barbed wire somehow into the type. Let's move this whole thing right down here or in one of the corners just to activate the negative space. So you think about the concept of a Holocaust survivor. Okay, so the Holocaust survivor's life must have just been seeming so meaningless and seemingly useless that I would say that to represent that visually, we could present Ailey White's a Holocaust survivor, and then with somehow incorporate that barbed wire into the name and present it down here kind of small so that it represents this whole expanse, this expansive world beyond the concentration camp. And that surely must have been what survivors felt like, or what prisoners felt like with the whole world out there, and then they're just locked in this little corner of the world. Do you see what I'm saying? So it all points to concept. So that's what I'm shooting for here. Now, again, this example right here, we can see that this fist, if this fist were presented over here large, then it would be the focal point, and it would take away all of the hierarchy away from typography and create message via illustration. And that's what's happening here. You're creating message via illustration as opposed to typographically. So again, my recommendation is to somehow incorporate the barbed wire into the type. Now, this barbed wire looks like it was placed. I can see some. I would illustrate this yourself. This is kind of a really muddy, poor quality placement. So I wouldn't try to shrink this and use it somehow here. I would design my own barbed wire and incorporate it into the type. Okay, does that make sense? Let me know if it doesn't, because it's an incredibly important concept, and one I think that we all students in the class need to incorporate in their work. So those are my recommendations. If you want to run this by me sometime before Sunday, that's great. Excluding Saturday, because I typically stay out of the studio on Saturday, so I won't be able to see it. But if you get this, try to make some adjustments, get this tomorrow, I'll be glad to take a look at it, or even Sunday morning. All right, so that's where we're at. Those are my recommendations. Any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary clarifications. Thank you very much. Oh, and by the way, definitely get over here and watch this video. Spend some time, pour a cup of coffee, spend an hour or so going back from the video to the examples, and see what I'm really talking about in terms of representing the methodological prowess and the conceptual success of each of these examples. Makes sense? And of course, the most important thing here, Damon, is to get with me with any question at all. Okay, great. Thank you very much.